This is Faith Encouraged with Father Barnabas Powell. Homilies designed to help you live a purposeful and faith-filled life in Jesus Christ. Here's Father Barnabas.
Good morning. I'm glad you're here. Another thing I'm very glad for is the faithfulness that you have shown during these summer months. This short editorial comment is just to say thanks. I appreciate it. There are a lot of parishes that struggle, especially during the summertime, and your faithfulness and your committed attendance and your support of the parish has been wonderful, and I'm very, very grateful to you. I really do appreciate it very much. Last Sunday, we had the Faith Encouraged Live program that I do on the second and fourth Sundays of every month on Ancient Faith Radio, and my special guest was Wesley J. Smith. And Wesley is a bioethicist. And he was telling me some amazing stories of the shift in how we humans think of ourselves. And he made some comments that frankly disturbed me a great deal. And I think we live in it's extremely important, precious friends, that you understand that when Father Barnabas makes homilies like this or says things to you, my goal is for you not to wonder where the church stands on important issues of the day, because you've got to raise your kids, and your grandchildren are being raised in this society. And the worst thing that can happen, in fact, I don't know if you've ever worked with a boss like this, where he never really gave you clear direction. And you say, oh, I did the best. And sometimes I think some of these guys do this on purpose, just so they can fuss at you. They don't give you any clear direction so that when you mess up, they can say, oh, no, you should have done it this way. Well, why didn't you tell me that? Well, you should have just known. It's amazing how much mind reading is required in living today's life. But the challenge that I have is I don't want you to wonder. I don't want you to wonder where the church stands on important issues of the day. And as Wesley and I were talking, we were talking about the challenges that are going on in our modern society as ethicists continue to blur the lines. One ethicist, Peter Singer, who is an ethicist at Princeton University, when he was given this scenario, had an outrageous comment. He said, if I had a building with 200 pigs and a newborn baby in it that was on fire, we should save the pigs because the one baby isn't worth as much economically and generally as the 200 pigs. The 200 pigs can provide other things. So the pigs were more valuable than the one child. Now, you've got to understand, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why our society, and I know that many of you will shake your heads and think, oh, well, come on now, Father Barnabas, that's never going to happen here. And yet, can we tick off on our fingers just in the last several years things that we thought would never happen here, happening here? So it's extremely important that we understand that one of the challenges that we face is that we have a seismic shift of thinking going on. And as Wesley was sharing this with me, he made a statement that shook me up. He said, we have gotten to the point, I want you to pay attention to this, folks, because there is an insidious challenge that we have in this society. We have gotten to the point where to relieve suffering, we think the best thing to do is to remove the sufferer. Because in our society, in our modern society, the alleviation of suffering has taken on paramount importance. We must alleviate all suffering. Suffering is always inherently bad. And I will confess to you, of course, we Christians should alleviate suffering, but not to the point that we fall into the delusion of confusing alleviating suffering with extinguishing the sufferer. The challenge we face is that when we do this, we become no more than animals. But make no mistake, there are many modern secular ethicists and philosophers who are more than willing to reinforce the idea in our society that we are nothing but very, very intelligent apes. That we're just very smart animals, but animals nonetheless. The only problem is is that when you start telling people they're animals, guess what they act like? Notice our gospel lesson today. Our gospel lesson today has two men who are called demoniacs. Now that's a wonderful ancient phrase for someone who has become so wild, so unyieldy, so uncontrollable that nobody wants to be around them. A perfect example, ladies and gentlemen, of men and women who have thrown off the concept of discipline and maturity. Men and women in society today have thrown off the concept of discipline and maturity. In fact, it's a dirty word because discipline is hard. And if it's hard, then that makes me uncomfortable. And uncomfortable feels like suffering, and suffering is bad. You see where we're going with this? But there's only one problem. When that attitude takes hold in a generation, in a group of people, what you have is the exaltation and enshrining of a perpetual adolescence as the highest good. And when you enshrine perpetual adolescence as the highest good, trust me, ladies and gentlemen, if you've ever tried to get a teenager to do something, you know what I'm talking about. And so these demoniacs had thrown off all control and all discipline, and they were completely consumed by their passions. One of the main points I want to get across to you today is that the purpose of our Orthodox faith is to teach us how to discipline our passions and grow up in our faith. Because when our passions are undisciplined, when our lives are undisciplined, when our thought processes are undisciplined, they go in any direction they want. Just ask any alcoholic. Ask him if he's free. The concept that freedom means doing anything I want is foolishness at the height of foolishness. It's ignorant. It's childish. Doing anything you want does not lead you to freedom. It leads you to perpetual adolescence and slavery. So, the counterintuitive message of Jesus is, you want to be free? Be a slave. I'm sorry? Do you want to really live? You got to die. You lost me. You want to be rich? Become poor. Do you want to be a leader? Be a servant. And the apparent paradox of the Orthodox Christian message preached for 20 centuries without dilution and without change is this, ladies and gentlemen, it is the path of discipline and maturity. Because the other choice is a wide road that leads to destruction. You've seen it in your own life, haven't you? When your passions have been in control, you do stupid things. Ask anybody who has ever fallen in love. I fell in love. I was walking along minding my own business and tripped and fell in love. Isn't that amazing? And ask people, have they ever done something dumb under the influence of that kind of situation? Well, the line forms behind me. When my passions are out of control, when my thought processes are undisciplined, my life is diffused and scattered rather than focused and headed in one direction. And so the Orthodox faith, brothers and sisters, today, the Orthodox faith comes to us as our Lord Jesus comes to us and to those demoniacs. The demoniacs at least knew that they were in the presence of the King of the universe and they ought to pay attention. And they ask one, isn't that interesting? Even the demons pray to the Lord. Will you let us go into those pigs? And Jesus, what does Jesus say? One word. Go. And they went. And what happened to this herd of swine? They ran down the hill and drowned themselves. Because you see, ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake, that image in your head needs to be the image in your head about where the evil one wishes to take your life. He wants to destroy you. That's what he wants. And so when you're undisciplined, when your passions are unbridled by the wisdom and the disciplines and the beauty and the power of a focused commitment to the Orthodox faith, when your life is undisciplined, your life is headed to destruction. It is not anything more complicated than that. And so today, the Orthodox faith, with all of her beauty and all of her 20 centuries of learned lessons that you don't have to relearn in your life if you don't want to, lying at your feet are the treasures of faith that will discipline your thoughts, mature your actions, and make your life what it was meant to be in the first place, so that your passions become what they were always intended to become, your servants, not your masters. You may say, oh, I like being passionate, Father. Well, okay, wonderful. Let me know how that works out for you. And it's a wonderful thing. These passions are not evil things as much as they're undisciplined. Discipline them, and they become servants. The wild horse is a danger until he's broken and trained. And then he's the most valuable stallion in the stable. Today, the passions that you wrestle with have a remedy in the wisdom and the perpetual strength of our Orthodox faith. The prayer life, the fasting disciplines, the liturgical schedule, all of these things waiting for you to embrace them and apply them to your life so that your passions are tamed and your life is at peace. This is the very thing we're offering you today, so that the animal instincts of pigs over children, the animal instincts of, well, you know, it's going to cost a lot of money if we don't pull the plug. Well, now he's gone to meddling. I understand. The animal instincts of, let's make sure there's not an ounce of suffering in our lives, will be put aside for the greater joy of becoming a mature person in Jesus Christ. He who has ears to hear, let him hear.
Father Barnabas is the priest at the Saints Raphael, Nicholas, and Irene Greek Orthodox Church in Cumming, Georgia. Find out more at faithencouraged.org. That's faithencouraged.org.